Hello and welcome everyone. This is Doris. Well, today I am here with my finished journal that is a birthday gift for my mother-in-law. I had done a previous video sharing that it was going to be a part one where I went ahead and actually showed the construction of how I altered this box here. And I was going to do different stages. Well, I just decided to keep at it and finish the journal. So I am sharing the flip through today. So let's get started. You can see that obviously this is a Dolly muffin mix box that I have altered, and I have different types of trims on here and fabrics. I did a button closure and just threw this tassel on here that was from some fabric I picked up at the thrift store. And this is that elastic closure. Let me turn it around so you can see how I did an eyelet there. I followed a video from Kathleen of BeAgainBooks, and I will try to list that video that I followed. And then we just have over here some more embellishing. I have like a sticker and then a button. I don't know if you can see it. And then I have one of those like flat back pearl type pieces. And then I did a jewelry dangle here. This is the first time I've tried this type of dangle. Really love it, and I think this is how I will do it from now on. You can see I used one of those swivel clasps here and just hooked an eyelet, and then I had this ring that I used too. And that way my mother-in-law can just unclip it right here and take it off if she doesn't want it on here. Most of this is just old jewelry, really. Old jewelry. You got a couple charms on there. I have a couple buttons. There's a cross. And then up here, let's see, towards the top, it's kind of hard to hold it and show you. There's a flower that came from jewelry. There's another one over here. And I have a little butterfly on there as well. So just a lot of fun little pieces. I made this into 2 signatures. I was originally going to do 1 and then decided I wanted it to lay a little flatter, so I thought I better do it into 2. Then I added some metal corners on here. And I did add scrapbook paper on the back. I didn't really care for the back of the box, how it looked, so I added that scrapbook paper too. And most of this scrapbook paper I used throughout the journal. It was from a paper pad I had bought for $2 at a garage sale a couple years ago. So the coloring was just perfect. Okay, so I think just for the sake of annoyance for me and the noise for you, we are going to take this off. I guess I could have done that first. And we'll look inside the journal. I had made this altered envelope for my mother-in-law, and I tried the patchwork on here, and I love how it turned out. A lot of these fabrics she had given me when we visited her last month, and so I wanted to include them. And then the envelope was very flimsy, so I added this paper, and this actually came from a vintage craft book. And I thought I would just put a little note in there for her. And then, so the first thing on the cover here, inside cover, we have this tag. This is her dog, Dixie. And I just have a little vintage trim. This is one of my favorite trims I've included in the book. I absolutely love it. I created a pocket here. I have a little gardening quote here from Thomas Jefferson, and then I added this little paper cutout and stitched some of her fabrics on underneath it. And I have some peach velvety trim there. And then over here we have a couple other vintage trims, and I used some texture paste on here and colored it with some acrylic ink. Thank you to Kathleen of BeAgainBooks for excellent tutorials on how to do this. I have some paper I put over the edge to reinforce it. And next we have a pocket and a little stenciling. That's kind of hard to see with my lighting from my window. And this is a piece of junk mail. And I just added a piece of my painty paper and a cute little sticker I had from Hobby Lobby. And then I made a fabric pocket here. This is from the fabric I had picked up. I had put it in I had shown this in one of my Thrifty Thursday videos, and this was a bag, like a clothespin bag. And we have these faux flowers, kind of a little joke with my mother-in-law and I. She has a house full of these, they're called, I guess they're called faux flowers. She picks on me because I call them fake flowers. But anyways, it's like a little joke her and I have, and so I knew I needed to find a way to include some of them in the journal. And so I have some here and then further on in the book. Over on this side, we have a vintage greeting card. I absolutely love this. It's got an embossed feel to it. It even has a little spot here that opens up. And so behind it, I put a matted photo of a 4th-generation picture there. Then on this side, we have a little, the negative I've punched out there. I took some papers and stitched them together. So I just made that like a belly band. And then another unique thing about my mother-in-law is she has little paper pads all over the house. So it doesn't matter whether it's the kitchen, the living room, spare bedroom, she has them all over. So I thought it would be fun to include some little fun little pads that I put together. And this one, this is a piece of just cardstock that I had embossed and done some sanding. Again, another Kathleen Maurer, thank you, idea. And I just added some coloring book page. These are some Marjolaine Bastion papers that I've put throughout the book, coloring pages. And then I just added some of my painty papers, just yellow writing paper, some vintage stationery, and then again, just more of my painty papers in here. Over here we have a couple family photos. I'm not really highlighting the family themselves, but I'm just sharing how you can include personal photos in your journal. Let me scooch that up a little bit there. So here I made like a double pocket and put a couple fabric tabs on the 2 pictures. And all of the pictures throughout the book have all been matted with cardstock. And that way, if and they are movable, so that if my mother-in-law, say, wants to write on the back of them, she can. If she wants to move them around, she can. Maybe she wants to show them to friends, she can do that as well. So I really wanted it to be very interactive, but easy for her to use. All right, next page, more of my favorite vintage trim here. And then we have an image here from a nature encyclopedia. And since she lives in Arizona, it's perfect to have cactus pictures in the book. Here I have a couple of the fabrics and a little staple, and then a little journaling card mounted on the back for her to write on if she wishes. And oops, here's part of my painty papers I did with acrylic paint. And some fabric trim I got at the flea market, swap meet, whatever you want to call it, when we were out there in Arizona with her. More coloring page, and then I made a little pocket. And behind here is vintage wrapping paper that I had on hand. I also used magazine she gave me. It's a traveling magazine about Arizona, so there's a lot of beautiful images, and so I include a lot of that here in the book. Here I just stitched on some fabric, and then a piece of stationery on the back for her to write. And her and I write letters to each other. We have been doing it for years, so I thought if anybody is going to write in a journal, write anywhere, it will be her. Next we have one of 2 tags I put in the book. I didn't feel it necessary to have a whole bunch of tags. I really wanted the space to be used mostly for the family photos. So on here I have a little embellishing on my little corner pocket, and then just some scrapbook paper, and I have this cute little flower eyelet, I don't know if you can see it, and some vintage trims. More of my painty paper and a little teacup sticker at the bottom. Over on this side, we have more of the stitched together scraps made like a side tuck, some stenciling. This I had in one of my Thrifty Thursday videos. It's a pack of new home cards, real retro looking, wouldn't you say? And I just covered up the new home words with the fabric. Then on the inside, I have a sticker and paper and a picture of my actual mother-in-law and my husband. And then just a light little stenciling on the back there. Another vintage greeting card. Went great with this color scheme of orange and yellow and pink. And if I didn't mention it, orange is her favorite color, and she really likes bright colors. So I knew I didn't want to do anything too grungy. I did do some inking throughout the book, and I used either, for the orange color, I used a pumpkin pie Stampin' Up color. It's a water-based ink. I didn't have any orange distress ink, so that's what I used for that color. And then the pink, I did use the Tim Holtz Worn Lipstick Distress Ink. All right, so moving on, we have inside the pocket another part of the coloring page, and I added just a little yellow, some checked paper on here as a little tab for her to easily grab. Writing paper over here. I had to reinforce it because it was falling apart right in through here, and I used a used manila envelope and just had done some stamping with butterflies on there. I'll hold that up so you can see it a little bit better. And then the center of the first signature, again from the Arizona Travel Magazine. And on the ties, I just added a couple little punch outs with some pink and orange paper. And over here we have a pocket that I covered with a vintage hanky and add this felt flower, and I did a little ruffle trim there. And then down here I have some vintage lace trim and a little sticker. And in the picture, just added a little tab. And on the back I have some lined paper and this cute little cutout on here. On this side I have another belly band, some more stenciling, and another little writing tablet for her made out of junk mail. Just use some of my painty papers, some stenciling, and mixed media stuff. So just some fun, easy to write on type stuff for her. Then my second tag of the journal, use just a cut apart, and my vintage trim I stitched on there with some fabric, and I have a little yellow heart eyelet on here with this pretty peach ribbon. On this side, more coloring page, and I have two photos in here that I've mounted that are pictures of plants from her yard. Over here I have a couple little punch outs. This is an envelope I had on hand. I cut it down, embossed it, and did some inking on it. Here I have a little cut apart, and it was falling apart, so I reinforced it with some of the vintage wrapping paper. And then inside I have another family photo mounted on cardstock. And here we have a fabric ruffle, and you can see more of my distressing and painting over here. Again, here's part of that manila envelope to reinforce the page. I made a pocket just with different trims and a little cut apart again in fabric, and another family photo tucked in there. And I just did some cute little flower I glued on with some ribbon and fabric tab. Then on this page, I'm trying to cover this up. A couple of great-grandkids in here that I don't want their photos shown, but do want to share. These cute little images are actually from our local community college, put out a magazine for classes for high school and under kids for the summer. And I loved their images and thought they'd be perfect for where the grandkids' photos were. And then you can see this is from one of those little file pages, and I just decided to keep that on there. That made it easy for her to take in and out of the belly band here. And then over here we have another picture inside this pocket. Sorry about the jiggling there. I just realized I did that. And then here we have more beautiful images from the Arizona magazine. And on this one here, I cut it down, added this from the college magazine, added it on there. It says spring, that season of the year in which plants begin to grow after lying dormant all winter. In the northern hemisphere, generally regarded as including the months of March, April, and May. And then on the back, I added writing paper so she can write. One thing that made it tricky in doing this journal for my mother-in-law, I did not want anything that was sideways. This is an exception, but I didn't want any lined paper sideways, because when you have someone that, first of all, doesn't know what a junk journal is, they're going to be confused as to why, and I knew I would have the question probably from her, which is understandable. Why are things sideways? You know, how do I write on something when the lines are going the other direction? So I really was careful to concentrate on the placement of the photos and the family photos, and that all the other things in the journal just would make sense to somebody like her. Over here, this is the end of the first signature. I did more of that texture paste and colored it with acrylic paint. Here, this was a stencil, Tim Holtz stencil, that I did the same thing on. Then on this side, this is that vintage wrapping paper again. I added another matted family photo here, a little paper tab, so she can easily take it in and out of the pocket there. Another beautiful image. And over here, added a little bit of fabric and a cactus sticker. And we have a pocket, did some more stenciling. Another card with a family photo, and I just temporarily added this over the top of it. But there's, you can see I have some vintage seam binding and fabric on there. Then over on this side, one thing about when we go visit my mother-in-law in Arizona, my husband always wants to go to In-N-Out Burger. We do not have In-N-Out Burger here in Nebraska, so that is a big treat for him whenever we do go. So I decided to ask them for a clean wrapper. I trimmed it down and it still wasn't quite fitting on my page. So I took the 75 that was over here and just glued it up onto here, and you can't even tell I did that. Then on the inside, I added this paper cardstock just to reinforce the pocket so it wouldn't rip. And then we have this little place that she can write. I just got this image. This is from a book that I have, and put in some retro lined paper from some stationery. And then a little cut apart I thought she would really enjoy. There are so many beautiful reasons to be happy. I think seeing pictures of the family will definitely bring her joy. And one thing about In-N-Out Burger, on their fry wrappers and on their paper cups, they have a Bible verse, and I wanted to try and keep that on the bag. So I carefully took it apart and wrapped it around here on this side so you can see the verse. And also added, looked up the verse and put it onto a journaling card for my mother-in-law so she could enjoy it. And I just kind of explained what I was doing here. And then it's on the back of a cut apart. More of my fake flowers. And a picture of my mother-in-law and my husband. Just backed onto some cardstock and trim there. Then over here, part of coloring page, some of the fabrics that she gave me. Inside the pocket, I have a field guide with some scrapbook paper. And just added a little bit of trim onto this graph paper. Over here, another image from Arizona magazine. Then the center of that second signature, more of those fun flowers. Whoops, I keep moving that. And again, I did the same thing with the ties, with the little flower punch outs. And then we have a journal card, which is very appropriate because it says Giant Cactus, Arizona State Flower. So I knew she'd really like that. And then I just backed it with a journal card. And I had this cute fabric that really coordinated well with the colors of the book. Here's another Arizona image. Look at this image of these mushrooms. I just thought it was amazing. I used to pick mushrooms when I was a kid back home in Michigan, and I never saw mushrooms that look like this. These are so beautiful. I thought she'd really like that. Again, she loves bright colors, so this is perfect for her. And then some of my painty paper I just added to the back. Another part of that image. And then up here on the graph paper, more vintage trim. I love this stuff. It's pink and it's got, I don't know if you can see it, but it's got a little bit of gold in there, and it's actually a stretchy trim. But I love the color. Then here we have a top tuck with some junk mail onto cardstock here, and just added a card that already has lines for her. A little journaling card. Then on this side, another family photo. And I just took some of my papers I had stitched together. These are just the scraps, and took the family image and added it onto some more of my embossed paper. And here I had sanded it again. I just love how that turned out. And then I made it so it can just, again, all the pictures can be taken out of the book. I've just created different ways to do that. And then, so there are that images in there. More coloring page. This was a restaurant that we went to when we went to the outdoor flea market in Arizona. There's more of my painty paper and my trim. And then we're finishing up here. I did a fabric flip, another cactus image. And then here we have another vintage hanky that I added onto a pocket and made into a pocket. And a picture of my husband and I just did some fabric trim, and I put it on the back of an index card. And we get to the end here. Another pocket using the field guide, my painty paper on the back of some stationery. And then one more of the stenciled, embossed, with the texture paste. I just love how that turned out. And then we have the back of the book, and I have more of that pretty peach fuzzy trim. All right, well, we are done with the flip through. And thank you so much for following along with me while I've shared this journal with you. I'm so excited for my mother-in-law to receive it. She doesn't know that there are going to be family photos in it. She knew that I took this box from her house, but that was it. So I really can't wait for her reaction, and I just hope she enjoys it. Well, thanks again. All of you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next video.